is this an issue that anyone actually votes on? Because I think that that's always the challenge when you talk about the sustainability and the environment. It's an issue that everyone abstractly really cares about, but it's an issue that often is very hard for people to prioritize over other things. That it's sort of just, it's the like second or third most important issue for many people from a voting perspective.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for hosting me, and also Louisa for this conversation, Politico, and Mr. Speaker, honored to be here on stage with you. It is an important issue. It's one of the most important issues. About 2/3 of millennials say that they're more likely to vote for a political candidate who's willing to do something about climate change. And if you're wondering what that number is for millennial Republicans, the majority of those individuals also support. About 60% of young Republicans believe that their elected leaders should be doing something about the issue. But I think overwhelmingly what's happening right now among this demographic is a disillusionment and distrust with our nation's government, and decreasing sense that our government and politics can actually solve the problems we face. And one of the striking features of American politics today is that current levels of partisan polarization are the worst that they've been since the Civil War. And coinciding with that, over half of our generation doesn't believe that politics can solve the challenges that we face. So this is something that we're focused on at the Millennial Action Project, because as we think about climate change and the other salient issues for our generation, the most important thing I think we're looking for are leaders who can get things done, who are pragmatic and solutions-oriented. So on this issue, to the extent that leaders are finding bipartisan ways to solve the problem, they'll enjoy disproportionate support from millennials. I think what you're seeing right now is an incredible movement of young conservatives and young progressives who are finding common ground on the issue. And the key, I think, for all of us to think about is how we can unleash the entrepreneurial and innovation of our generation. The most important thing that our generation can think about are those policies that are willing to create demand for clean technology products, but also how we can be creating some of the basic research and development on this issue. I think there's long been actually consensus that there's a role for government to be investing funds in basic research and development. And those products, a lot of products are coming out are the result of commercializations from our universities and national labs.
And the point you just made, which is millennials have grown up in an era when they're watching government fail. I mean, they watch the Veterans Administration fail. They watch the IRS fail. But now, if we can agree the environment matters in that framework, let's have a conversation on what we should do. And you're going to see a lot more entrepreneurship where people go out and do what you're doing. They say, I want to be a piece of the action, not a piece of the conversation.
Yeah, if I can pick up on that, I agree with everything the speaker just said. The millennial generation has the highest service and volunteerism rate of any generation in this country. And as the speaker also mentioned, our generation has been skeptical and will continue to be skeptical of top-down, overbearing solutions. We much more prefer bottom-up entrepreneurial solutions. And that's why we really need to take a step back from this entire debate, because the millennial generation, which is now the majority independent generation, the fastest growing political affiliation is no affiliation in our generation, because we're not involved in a debate between left and right or big government versus small government. We're the generation that's crowdfunding entrepreneurs right now. We're creating the gig economy for freelancers. We were just talking about this backstage. We're creating the ride-sharing economy and Airbnb. We see, and government is struggling to keep up with these new innovations. We see government more as a platform to be creating these bottom-up, peer-to-peer type solutions. The government needs to be on the side of the problem solvers, not on the problem makers. We need our generation's best and brightest right now going into public service, and it's not happening. Only 29% of our generation sees public service as an appealing career track. That's not just detrimental to our country now, but it is even more in the future, because for all the politicians today who say they're trying to do something for their children and grandchildren, they've been absolutely horrible for the millennial generation and those that will come after us.